Okay, in this video we'll talk about CSS transitions. So I have a page here with a menu, and you can see the menu as I move my cursor over it. You'll see that there's a slow transition in the color. So transitions can transition from any HTML or CSS property that you can pretty much target. So here the target is the color of the text. So let's take a look at a couple of things here. First of all, let's look at some structural things. So I've included here a header tag, and the header has an H1, and then it has a nav section, and it has this UL within the nav. And the UL is basically a list, and the list has my menu items, so home, products, services, contact. And these are empty links, they're not going anywhere specific. And let's take a look at the style sheets that are controlling this. So you'll see in the style that I have a header, and the header is displayed as a flex item. So that means that this header H1 will be on the left, and the nav will be on the right. And then for the nav itself, that UL, I'm also displaying as flex. So that will take all the items and it will spread them out across like this. When I'm also removing the bullets with list style none. And then for each item, I'm giving it a little space after so that there's space in between, and just making the text bold. Now for the actual link, the text decoration is set to none, so there's no underlined on the links. And then we have a color here, this 1B70A6 color. And then we specify on the link the transition. So the transition has 3 properties. You'll see that I'm transitioning all properties. Now you can target just one property. In this case, the property that's changing is color. And then you can set an interval, so 5 seconds, or 0.5 seconds here. The S stands for seconds. And then an easing function. And the easing function here is an ease in. There's ease in, ease out, ease in, out. There's a bunch of different ones. You can use cubic Bezier functions. There's a bunch of different things you can do with this. You can also add a delay on the transition, so that if I move my cursor over, it will delay for a short time before it actually fires. And then what's triggering the transition is in the hover class. So this is how we trigger transitions in CSS, is with the hover class. So I'm saying here a hover, every time I hover, change the color from this color, the 1B color, to this color, the 50F2E2 color. So it's a lighter blue color. And that's what's happening here with this transition, and it's happening in a duration of 0.5 seconds. You can lengthen or shorten that duration. So for example, if I set this to 0.2 seconds, now as I move my cursor over it, I get more immediate feedback. It's much quicker. And you can lengthen that by changing the value. So that's a basic transition. Now let's look at some more complex transitions. So here I have, in CodePen, I have just 3 divs that are inside of a main. And each div has a class 1, 2, and 3. And then those are being styled. So the main has a width of 62%, and it's being centered. It has a display of flex, which means each div will be side by side. And then I'm aligning those items in the center, and I'm putting space around them with the justify content, and that's why you see space in between and around the three divs. The three divs themselves are line center. There's some font size going on there. And then each div has its own colors, its own minimum height, value, a width of 200 pixels. And then you'll see a transition. Now the transition is again set to all, so it's watching for all property changes. And it's set to 0.6 seconds. And there's an ease in value for them. And then what's different is, well, what's being changed. So what's being changed on the first one, on hover, you can see I have a bunch of different examples. So you can use transform, and transform can do things like scale, skew, rotate, even translate on a 3D. And then here it's rotating by 180 degrees. So as I move my cursor over the first one, you'll see that it flips around. It has this like flipping appearance to it. It's not true 3D, but it has an interesting appearance to it. On the second one, when I move my cursor over, it's translating on the X axis, which means it's going to go across the X axis by 100 pixels. If I move my cursor over this, you'll see that it slides to the right. And I move my cursor away, it slides back to the left. If I set this value to negative 100 pixels, you'll see that as I move my cursor over it, it'll push to the left. And then when I move off, it'll push to the right. So translate can also be Y. So if I say translate Y by 100 pixels, this will go down. And if that was negative 100, it would go up. So that's the transform translate. On the third div, I'm doing three things. I'm scaling it by 1.3, so it's going to get a little larger. I'm skewing it by negative 10 degrees, so it's going to slant a little bit. And then I'm translating on the Y by 50 pixels. So when I hover over this, you'll see all three actions play out. So I'm getting the scale, I'm getting the skew, and then the translate on the Y axis. So it's going down by 50 pixels. So these transitions can be pretty powerful. You can do a lot of different things. So again, with transitions, you can transition any type of property for CSS. It could be the font size, it could be the color, it could be background color, it could be a lot of different things. So have fun with this and experiment and add that into your projects.